Good morning and hello, everyone. I'm Brett Steele, Dean of the UCLA School of the Arts and Architecture, coming to you live this morning from the Broad Arts Center here on the UCLA campus this morning, Saturday, June 23rd, June 13th, 2020. As I address our incredible graduating class of 2020, I want to first speak to everyone here, not as a dean or as a member of faculty, but instead as one voice in a school of 1,000. I'd like to speak here to the extraordinary moment we all find ourselves in, nearing the middle of an already long and extraordinary and extraordinarily unpredictable 2020 year. This morning, we all mourn the death of George Floyd. His 2020 year, like his life, was brought to an abrupt, tragic, and mindless end not so many days ago. While we were all going about our lives as our academic year was finishing, his life was ended. This past week, George Floyd was laid to rest. He is the latest in a too long list of Black people who have died at the hands of police, at the hands of people whose job it is to protect and serve. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many, many others, and for so very, very long. In the past few days, their murders have snapped us all to attention once again. Their murders have forced us all, must continue to force us all to face directly and work to undo racist discrimination. We must all, me, you, our school, our campus, we must all address and work together to rectify racial injustices of the past and of the present and of the now. Many of us, myself included, are seeing anew the privileges we were born with. Dismantling systems of oppression so easily understood in relationship to privilege of all kinds must be at the core of our discussions as well as our actions, in seminar rooms and studios, in school buildings and their performance halls, galleries, workshops, and rehearsal spaces, no less than their hallways and offices and platforms. We must do this work in institutions, professions, and industries of all kinds, including most especially those industries people too easily, too casually, and too routinely call creative. This is the work ahead for all of us in our many and varied careers, in lives that must somehow and together find a way to not only move, but as our graduates do here today, to move forward. So, to you graduates especially, you have my commitment that we all at the School of the Arts and Architecture will amplify our own efforts to lead the way. We will all work to make a more just and with that more fundamentally durable world. As a school and a community, we are dedicated to this core mission. For a school like ours, this means attracting and retaining a more diverse faculty, staff, and student community. This means better training and supporting our community in how to be more inclusive and understanding of differences. This means guaranteeing that students can safely share their concerns, be guiding lights, and be treated seriously and with respect. This means transforming curricula to be in alignment with these values. These are all steps we will continue to take, and with a renewed urgency for the making of a more fair and just world into which all of you graduates go to today. In this first ever virtual commencement, we come together here to do what matters so much: celebrate you, this year's 2020 graduates of the UCLA School of the Arts and Architecture. I congratulate you, of course, and as do all of us here in the school, as do your friends and family and loved ones. I know this virtual event is most definitely not the way any of us might have expected to mark this great milestone in your brilliant lives. In fact, this celebration is but one of many accommodations you've all had to make over the past several months. But know this too, when we are able to do so, we will come together again, in person, once again, to do what we're going to do here today, which is celebrate each and every one of you for everything you've accomplished. As I prepared these remarks the past few days, I've been thinking and marveling at what you all have done to reach this moment, the adversities you've endured, the challenges you've overcome, the expectations you've surpassed. Despite our physical distance here this morning, and despite the extraordinary challenges of the past few months especially, the incredibly human rites and rituals and joys of this graduation endure. On a commencement day like today, there is always a mixture of emotions: relief, joy, sadness, exhilaration, trepidation, even anticipation. Undoubtedly, all of these and so many other emotions are here and now, maybe even more so this year, in an event where our shared emotions are as much what connect us as are the interfaces and devices through which these words are being shared this morning. In the past few days, in thinking about you graduates, I've been thinking about not just you, but your power, and something even greater, the power of the one to the many. Yes, there is most certainly the frightening power of a current global pandemic, a pandemic that has revealed the capacity of one infection to grow many times over and in that way display inequities otherwise too often and easily ignored. In recent days, we have also, however, witnessed the collective power of one voice joined in the street by millions of others, demanding change and accountability. Regardless of your passions or your politics, as artists and creators and makers and thinkers and organizers and scholars, you are the ones who have already connected with so many and in so many important ways. Through one artistic voice, through one creative act, giving expression to and for so many others, and so many ideas, experiences, and moments. It's in this way that this truly is your moment and this is your power. So on the last shared day together, let's remember this day this way and with this question. What better time to welcome this class of graduates into the world than this moment in 2020 when both that world and this time need you all more than ever. It's undeniable that this class of 2020 is a graduating class for the ages, and most definitely one totally unlike any other graduating class of UCLA's first 100 years. You're unique not just for having completed your studies and programs and degrees, but as well for the extraordinary urgency, tenacity, and resilience with which you've pursued your work and learning while advocating for that of so many others. For this, we applaud, we celebrate, and we honor you here today. Thank you so much. Artists and makers, designers and scholars, performers and activists, architects and organizers, each and every one of you. We know the challenges you face. We also know this: what you can do. Don't just continue to help make us all make sense of the world around us. Do continue, as is the case already, to help imagine and not only make our world a world more just for those far away and not only near, and for those many and not only one. Whatever forms each and every one of your creative lives and actions take, please, please continue to help us all. Through your gifts and talent and good fortune and determination, help us all see the world through your eyes, and so in ways none of us could have otherwise seen without you. So, and on behalf of everyone here in the school, this year especially, near and far, we all thank you and congratulate you, this year's 2020 Centennial Graduating Class of the UCLA School of the Arts and Architecture. Thank you. It's now my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker this year, someone who herself understands the power of the one to the many in the most extraordinary, meaningful, and human of ways. Yasmin Lawry is an architect, an advocate for social justice, and a champion of environmental stewardship. Yasmin joins us here in Westwood this morning from her evening, exactly 12 hours away, in her home country of Pakistan, where Yasmin has spent decades fighting for better living conditions for tens of thousands of people, whose lives have been impacted by her incredible vision, hard work, and relentless imagination. Yasmin has, for decades, engaged in humanitarian relief work in villages and cities, building homes and communities affected by floods and earthquakes with a philosophy she has sometimes called barefoot social architecture. More often than not, Yasmin has designed on behalf of those who cannot afford shoes, let alone built spaces. She has worked tirelessly on behalf of those who lack political or social power, but not needs. She builds for those individuals and often in dusty rural places, in distant villages with local and durable materials, where she uses traditional building techniques not as ideas or let alone ideals, but rather because of the opposite. They are readily available realities. Yasmin was the first female architect in Pakistan. She has battled discrimination in her home country and in her chosen profession throughout her long and accomplished career. She has also worked tirelessly to not only organize and build, but also preserve the artistic and architectural legacy of her country. Above all, she has led by example, showing architects and artists and designers that social justice not only has a place at the center of our creative worlds, but as well is something to embody in everything we do, which of course, Yasmin Lari already does. Please join me in welcoming, live from Karachi, Pakistan, Yasmin Lari. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from Pakistan. Congratulations to all graduates of the UCLA School of Arts and Architecture. You can be justifiably proud for having successfully accomplished the rigorous and demanding years at such a renowned institution. Congratulations also to all the parents, grandparents, families, and friends for your role in nurturing another young generation of great promise. And congratulations to the committed faculty members who have been there every step of the way. I have to say that when I received the gracious invitation from Dean Steele, I was a little surprised. I thought he was being kind because my son Mihail Lari and son-in-law Scott Murray are so deeply connected to UCLA and the Hammer. I wondered, how could a university in the US be interested in inviting a barefoot architect such as myself, who relinquished her elite status a couple of decades ago? As I explored further, I discovered that unlike other institutions, UCLA holds a profound belief in the tenets of social justice. I'm therefore truly honored to be invited to speak at this important occasion to graduates whose spirit for social good resonates with my own struggle for social and ecological justice for marginalized sections of society. You know, this has never been more important in the world and never been more important right where you are today, especially these last few weeks. I salute the young people of America, such as yourselves, and my own grandson Shay, who's in college in California, and legions of others, regardless of the threats they face, are walking the streets of America every day, vociferously raising their voice for justice. Now, living in a third world country, for me, the pursuit for justice has been paramount. As you may be aware, I decided to push for low-cost, zero-carbon, zero-waste through a strategy called Barefoot Social Architecture, or BAZA, for the disadvantaged. This came about as a result of my walking barefoot in empathy with those who are today my fellow travelers. Last year, I was delivering a keynote at the Vienna Biennale on the use of my barefoot model as a mechanism for healing the planet. I found that many in the audience were perplexed and asked, why barefoot? I had to respond, it is because the work I do today is with people who walk barefoot. They have no shoes. I had overlooked that in affluent countries, nobody is used to people walking without shoes. Of course, in my country, a vast number are without shoes because of lack of resources. But walking barefoot also helps you to respect the soil on which you tread. It is due to the inspiration gained from Pakistan's age-old vernacular traditions that I feel compelled to utilize the planet's resources in a judicious manner. Now, for several years now, I have watched with growing dismay the damage being caused to the Earth's ecosystem due to wasteful and highly consumptive ways of living and building. As the recommendations of the Brundtland Commission of 1987 for sustainable development continues to be ignored. Even as French economist Thomas Piketty presented irrefutable attestation of rising inequalities due to the accumulation of wealth by only 1%, I am distressed at the condition of the others, a large number of whom we know suffer from deprivations of the highest order. I watched Al Gore's undeniable evidence regarding global warming and climate change, with recurring calamities of earthquakes, floods, and tsunamis. And even as 189 countries signed the Paris Climate Agreement COP 2015, we know that the agreed 1.5 centigrade temperature rise remains elusive. I was proud when Pakistan's Nobel laureate, young Malala Yousafzai, who just graduated from Oxford, campaigned for education and not leaving girls behind. But I'm disappointed that my country and many other less developed countries, or LDCs, continue to have the lowest education rate for girls. And I'm desolate as women's voices continue to be muffled, in spite of the Me Too movement, and women leadership figures remain abysmally low with no hope of gender parity. I remembered Dr. Martin Luther King's dream for equality and justice, and Nelson Mandela's victory in dismantling apartheid, and Barack Obama elected twice a black president, but distraught to realize that some people will never be as equal as others. And like the multitude of protesters in the United States and around the world, I'm heartbroken that racism thrives in the 21st century, and the vulnerable Breonna Taylors and George Floyds of the world seem forever to be targets of brutal victimization. And then there's COVID-19, a virus that knows no borders, which underscores tragedy, the fragility of human life with no assurance of safety due to your wealth or status, but has impacted minorities at such high rates in the United States. But I'm also optimistic that the realization brought about by the pandemic and the light that, as so many of you are shining on institutionalized discrimination, will lead to the fashioning of a more equitable world. As financial markets lose trillions of dollars, we know that investment directions in visual and creative arts will be forced to seek altered priorities. And we must be ready for a paradigm shift in our design conceptions as we prepare ourselves for a world that requires a major reset. This may be unsettling, as there is a great deal of comfort in opting for well-trodden avenues, but I can tell you from my own experience, nothing could be more enriching than the exploration of an unpaved vagabond pathway. Imagine what could be if you assume the lead to fashion a divergent but more egalitarian, just and humane world, and transform the present carbon-intensive environment through an inspired visual arts vocabulary which would tread lightly on the planet. Imagine if you create art and design not for just the select few. After all, it is the power of design that will be in demand, because as the levels of inequalities and poverty rise, there is a mass of humanity that needs excellence of design for their survival. Remember, it is not only the privileged who have a right to enjoy handsomely designed environments. The disadvantaged and those that live at the margin need more, not less design to achieve a better quality of life. As more studies emerge regarding the nexus between climate crisis, pandemics, and poverty, there appears an opportunity for spawning of a multitude of green strategies. As UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres articulated just recently, and I quote, "By making the transition to low carbon, climate resilient growth, we can create a world that is clean, green, safe, just, and more prosperous for all." As the lockdown comes to an end, we are confronted with an entirely variant worldview that will lead architecture and urbanism, especially, into divergent directions. The question is, will architects continue to design iconic and ostentatious megastructures, Or will they veer towards democratization of architecture based on community participation, co-building and co-creation, a new way of conceptualizing? Can the use of high energy consumptive cement and steel be minimized by creating hybrid structures? Combination of high carbon skeleton with low carbon infill and finishes, incorporating my favorite zero carbon materials, lime instead of cement, bamboo rather than wood, and lime stabilized earth and aggregate that will make cement concrete redundant. Inevitably, New York, with its highest infection rate and its high carbon, high density glittering towers, will no longer be urbanist future beacon. Instead, as we get accustomed to carrying out business remotely, maybe eco-urbanism will take root, drawing upon age-old wisdom and traditional environments found in countries such as Pakistan. Aiming for low-rise, medium-density formations with open-to-sky terraces for families to remain in contact with nature when a pandemic strikes, with pedestrian enclaves and local round-the-corner shopping without being disrupted by vehicular traffic, which should be rightly relegated to the periphery. As the need for extensive vehicular mobility is curtailed and consumption levels are reduced, in the New World Order, what if eco-cities could embody the virtues of carbon-neutral environment, nature conservation and biodiversity enhancement, and conversion of existing vehicular roadways into landscaped, forested walking streets for lowering pollution levels, interventions that lead to better health and well-being of humankind. Because make no mistake, human and planetary health will now take center stage. What if creative professionals switch to more sustainable lifestyles, adopting movements such as transition design or degrowth in the West, or my own barefoot social architecture for sustenance of the disadvantaged in the third world? And this is the time that credence must be given to women designers. Their voices must be brought to the table in an effort to fashion a compassionate and humanistic world without conflict and exploitation. This is also the time for all of you here today, imaginative, creative thinkers with a capacity for enterprise and adventure to provide leadership to the world. Even as you may be dismayed by what you are, what you see, these challenging times may also present exceptional opportunities for mending the existing imbalances and stitching the highly damaged tapestry of our planet. Now, what was it that Vincent van Gogh said? I dream my painting and I paint my dream. Class of 2020, as I wish you bon voyage on your new journey, I urge you to never stop dreaming, whatever the odds. God bless you and Godspeed. Goodbye.
Yasmin, thank you so much, so much for your words, for your deeds, for your passion, for your call to action, and mostly for joining us here today and sharing your words with our graduates. Thank you, thank you. It's an immense honor, and I look forward to us being able to host you here on campus when you can do that in person, and for all of us to carry forward the work that you've been doing. I'd like now to briefly recognize members of our faculty who for the past several months especially have undertaken the Herculean task of transitioning this school to remote instruction and who have done so brilliantly. Thank you. The spirit, empathy, and resilience with which you've met these challenges has been inspiring to all of us and not just our students and graduates. I'm proud to be your colleague and collaborator, and thank you for all of the hard work. Not only your incredible efforts these past few months, but your passion throughout the year. Our faculty, as well as all of our staff, are truly the heart and soul of this school and play an immeasurable role in the success of our graduates. For all of you, thank you so much. Now, I'm pleased to present the 2020 Graduate Student Speaker for the School of the Arts and Architecture. This honor rotates every year to one of our departments in this school, and this year we have a graduate from the Department of Design Media Arts. It's my pleasure to introduce Dalina Tran.
Thank you all who are tuning in today. Thank you to our professors, faculty, and staff at the UCLA School of Arts and Architecture for giving me this moment to speak on your behalf. And congratulations to the graduating class of 2020 on your perseverance and your hard work as you made it here today. Now we are free to roam this precarious world. Let's not pretend that everything is normal. I would actually suggest that normal is a state we should actively be resisting right now. At the start of 2020, we were threatened with fears of a next world war as tensions with Iran escalated. Now, people across the US protested no war with Iran, yet the stock prices in our military-industrial complex skyrocketed, reminding us that imperialism and the capital rooted in violence are at the heart of our healthy economy. And a healthy economy is what validates business as usual. When COVID-19 came, it upended our daily lives. As students of the arts, we lost access to our classrooms, our facilities, our schools, and most importantly, our sense of community. With the new White Gallery doors closed, our cohort in Design and Media Arts actually adapted the context of our MFA exhibition for the web. Many of us had alternate means of fabrication, while others completely reconsidered our projects. And the 11 of us shared our frustrations, our plans, memes, and methods of implementation with each other. What I found insightful as we struggled to put it all together were our efforts at intimacy, even in separation. While our communities adapted to new forms of proximity, we also realized we are anything but alone. If anything, we are cognizant of the same narrative because we are all living it, even if disproportionately. When rent is due and our bodies are at risk of illness or death, but also our only sources of survival, there is an urgent clamor in our chests for change. Reflecting on the body's fragility forces us to stop and really reevaluate our priorities and the system that normalizes those priorities. Time for the affluent, at least the concern of time for the affluent white class, stretches out into decades as the status quo maintains their power. The gears grinding business as usual will make Amazon's CEO the first trillionaire in just 6 years. On the other hand, for those who are neglected or systematically targeted, time shrinks to months or days. In the case of George Floyd, it was exactly 8 minutes and 46 seconds. In recent weeks, Black Lives Matter protests have demanded justice for the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and many others, and the list today continues to grow. The fight against systemic racism and police brutality were met with increased police brutality. And still, people consistently take to the streets in all 50 states. What could explain this unprecedented moment? Why now? Could it be the banality of evil seen on Officer Derek Chauvin's face, so calm while he kneeled on George Floyd's neck, ignoring his pleas for help? Could it be that we have had enough with a system that quickly deploys violence, but is reluctant when it comes to care? Black feminist poet Audre Lorde says, "Within each of us, there is some piece of humanness that knows we are not being served by the machine which orchestrates crisis after crisis and is grinding all of our futures into dust. Our interests are not being served by the systems we support." Each of us has accomplished so much to be here today, and still the future may seem uncertain. As artists, our ability to survive in our profession was always the negotiation of how much we could or should exploit our craft, our knowledge, our practices to contribute as productive members of society. And as the graduating class of 2020, these times of uncertainty are occurring, and also, yes, it is a blessing. a moment to bring considerable change around us. What better time has there been than now? And as the economy starts to open up again, to try to bring things back to normal, the question I have for all of us is, what can we do to make sure that the systems we support are serving our interests? What will we do to break down the normalcy that upholds violence, greed, and exhaustion around our bodies and our communities? How can we use the unpredictability of our artists to imagine and implement a future that cares to include everyone? Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Delina, for your powerful, powerful words and speech. Now I'm pleased to present the 2020 undergraduate student speaker for the School of the Arts and Architecture. As with our graduate student speaker, this honor rotates each year to one of the departments in our school. This year, our speaker has been selected by the Department of World Arts and Culture's Dance. Please welcome Isabella Danyanica.
Hello, I hope your day is off to a lovely start, a sweet midpoint, or a joyous end, depending on where you are. I am honored to be speaking today, and even more honored to have spent the past 4 years at this university alongside each of you. Honestly, I have rewritten this speech about 4 times in the past 2 weeks, because every day there seems to be another moment that deserves our reflection and our action. On this day, as we celebrate our accomplishments in learning, I would like to talk about love. In Bell Hook's book, All About Love, she defines it as a combination of trust, commitment, care, respect, knowledge, and responsibility. She asks us to consider love as a verb, as a collection of actions. She calls on us to cultivate and maintain a love ethic, not only with our loved ones, but also politically and socially. Love, then, is a practice. This definition of love is very relevant right now, amidst the pandemic and the ongoing fight to dismantle white supremacy and systemic racism in this country. I keep hearing the term love misused, even used tactically to invalidate pain and downplay outrage. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, for example, issued a tweet 2 weeks ago telling us to walk in love. He said this after calling in the National Guard. He said this after proposing a budget that gives over half of our city funds to police, over community investment, housing, emergency management, cultural affairs, parks, and recreation. I've seen a similar disconnect between words and actions at UCLA. In the past 4 years that I have been privileged to be a student here, I have also seen the UC administration deny AFSCME workers fair pay and healthcare year after year, deny graduate students cost of living allowances. Last week, I was horrified when a friend from the WAC department texted me to tell me that LAPD had detained protesters at, of all places, our beloved Jackie Robinson Stadium. Choices by the city, by the UC system, and by UCLA only perpetuate racially and economically oppressive systems. They are abuses of power, not acts of love. At the same time, so many individuals at this university, students, staff, professors, facility workers, lab techs, continue to act, to share knowledge, and to care for one another in ways that go far beyond their titles and job descriptions. I'm thinking of the department chairs and professors who stood with graduate students this past winter, of students who walked out of class to support AFSCME workers, of my friend Anna Cho's son from the art department, who took it upon herself to organize and lead a course on art making as a way of engaging with decolonial approaches, critical race theory, and gender studies. I'm so grateful to have witnessed and at times participated in these truly loving acts. I was homeschooled for much of my childhood. A lot of my early education took place around the kitchen table that I'm giving this speech from today. Learning took place with family members, with friends, with neighbors, with a lot of artists. It was based on impromptu conversations about creative problems and current events. In my personal experience, when learning is approached as an engagement in mutual growth, when education moves beyond intake and accumulation to dialogue, listening, and action, that is where love is most present. Of course, UCLA has incredible libraries, facilities, and scholars far beyond anything in this living room. But the moments where I have simply sat down to talk with many of you, friends and professors alike, are the moments I am truly most grateful for. It is through these continued relationships and conversations, especially the difficult ones, that we might be most able to disrupt and make change. We need to continue to use these relationships and the resources we have been privileged to access as tools to actively recognize and resist, uproot, and dismantle systems of inequity and oppression. Circling back to bell hooks, she says that in order to awaken to love, we have to let go of our obsession with power and domination. That we should instead make our choices with honesty, openness, and integrity. To love, we need to align our actions with our values. So, as we celebrate our graduation in the midst of what may feel like perpetual chaos, I hope that each of us takes the time to evaluate our practice of active, willful, disruptive love. Thank you and congratulations.
Isabella, thank you so much and for returning our attention and focusing on making a connection between words and action. Thank you. Thank you. Each year, an undergraduate student from each of our majors in the School of the Arts and Architecture is chosen based on their academic record to serve as a Chancellor's Marshal at our school's commencement ceremony. The Chancellor's Marshal is an honorary designation, and our marshals normally help with the logistics of our commencement event by leading the procession of students and faculty into and out of the ceremony site. We want to take a moment here to recognize our 5 Chancellor's Marshals from the class of 2020 for their distinguished scholastic achievements. From the Department of Architecture and Urban Design, Amber Zhang. From the Department of Art, Ariel Clara Steinbach. From the Department of Design Media Arts, Wamin Tina Wen. From the dance major within the Department of World Arts and Cultures Dance, Sabina Lee Schaefer. And from the World Arts and Cultures major within the Department of World Arts and Cultures Dance, Isabella Dunyanica. Graduates, before we disperse into our separate departmental sessions where your degree will be conferred today and where, I am sure much more celebration is in store, I want to offer my hearty congratulations and best wishes for your future endeavors. I so look forward to keeping in touch. We all do here at school as you move forward and as you move us forward into the future. I would be remiss if we did not take a moment to acknowledge and thank the parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, spouses, partners, children, friends, all of our graduates who have worked so hard and sacrificed so much to make today possible. Thank you. From wherever you are joining us today across the city and indeed the entire world, we thank and applaud you for your support and encouragement. Thank you. Before we move on to a performance of the UCLA alma mater, I want to remind you to make sure you know where to go next. Graduates, faculty, and staff, you will stay right where you are. Family and friends who are not already watching the ceremony from your student's departmental YouTube stream, at the conclusion of the UCLA alma mater, please make sure to follow the link for your student's departmental celebration, which you can find listed on our commencement website at commencement.arts.ucla.edu. And now, please enjoy the UCLA alma mater performed this year by Angel Riley, Masters in Music candidate in voice at UCLA, class of 2020. Thank you.
Hail to the hills of Westwood, to the mighty sea below. Hail to our alma mater, she will conquer every foe, for we're loyal to the Southland, her honor will uphold. We'll gladly give our hearts to thee,
So everyone, this concludes part 1 of the School of the Arts and Architecture commencement ceremony. I wish you all the very best and look forward to staying in touch in the days, months, and years ahead. Thank you all so much for coming. Congratulations, graduates.
Designs Class of 2020. Let's take a moment to cheer and celebrate with our friends, families, and one another. Today, we celebrate your incredible accomplishments, focusing on your perseverance, hard work, and passion. I'm deeply impressed with the character, resilience, scholarship, and extraordinary talents of the students who are graduating today. This year has challenged us in unexpected ways, and yet the work presented earlier this week at our year-end exhibition was thought-provoking, captivating, and beautifully crafted. This is evidence of the steady commitment of students to give precise vision to the ideas that motivate them and to engage in dialogue about the social and cultural implications of their visions. Importantly, AUD students are supportive and encouraging of one another, and witnessing this camaraderie is perhaps my most rewarding aspect of teaching here. 2020 has isolated us from one another physically. However, these circumstances have only strengthened the bonds between students. The intensity and demands of architectural education forges a solidarity among students, uniting them in common purpose to sponsor new forms of collective human experience through the instruments of drawing, image, and story. The future, as foretold by the thought leaders we celebrate today, is an enlightened one. It's optimistic, informed, and principled. We look very forward to the futures that your work will elicit. So I'd like to return to back to commencement and a celebration of your academic accomplishments. I have the honor of announcing the names of those receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree. Nayeli Almaguer Rodriguez. Stein Cuevas. Anna Catherine Davenport. Nicole Yael Kashfian. Joshua Hendrick Kramer. Jose Andres Lopez. Chiara Knoppenberger. John Clinton Northrop II. Jessica Ramani. Farida Saleh. Krisakan Savathasuk. Andy Jesus Set. Catherine Taylor Strawn. Sabrina Ann Tanawitjaja. Mishika Watanabe. Camila Weiss. Pinyan Wu. Tang Yao Wu. Shiyun Calvin Yo. Amber Zing. Xiang Zhang. Now I have the honor of announcing the names of those receiving a Master of Architecture I degree. Shani Albalak. Megan Barucham. Christiana Bergi. Kate Carlson. Jieting Shuang, Samantha Patricia Crawford, Michael Dupre, Zihao Ding, David Ehrlich, Kate Francesca Gancedo, Sarah Grieve, Yu Han, Sami Numan Hassan, Jaravuth Hav, Hiroshi Ryan Holloway, Hideo Kamida, Ching Annie Cao, Martha Criley, Rain Barsley Laborde, Sunghoon Nathaniel Lee, Florian Lippenard, Philip Lee, Ziyao Li, Jean Lin, Yushun Min, Kyung Yoon Park, Georgia Pogus, Jacob Alexander Sertich, Yuji Shi, Daniel J. Scalar, Noam Kahana Taylor, Heather Tipton, David Eduardo Vasquez, Teodora Velkova, Jiaji Wang, Ada Luchao Wang, Wandi Wang, Chloe Jasmine Watson, Diang Yu, Irfan Ryan Zamani, Ni Zhang, Peiwei Zhang, Yifan Zhang. Now I have the honor of announcing the names of those receiving a Master of Architecture II degree. Aaron Carcamo, Roy Yang Chen, Shuaizhang Chen, Wian Wu Choi, Win Han Dong, Rivati Ganesh, Luis Diego Garcia, Siran Gua, Anatoly Gorgiadou, Ali Hussein Hakami, Yushwin Ha, Xingyi Huang, Dipinti Kapoor, Onur Koyan, Sangmi Lee, Lasan Lee, Xingyang Li, Weilin Liu, Songhang Liu, Jiashan Liu, Shilong, Alikya Maladi, Yewan Min, Yashi Min, Akshara Mole, Najin Nayiri, Niha Oswal, Shansu Oyang, Shervin Pegambari, Gaurav Puri, Akash Ragdi, Aishwarya Rajashakar, Gestamani Rumpani, Kalshil Ketan Shah, Pranay Sharma, Rushi Singh Gani, Tianyi Song, Nanzi Zhu, Shinmayi Suri, Arim Wijish, Jingyi Wang, Shilin Wang, Tong Wang, Sheree Wang, Siran Wang, Xiyan Wang, Jifeng Wu, Yiyin Wu, Dingkai Sheng, Wei She, Su Yuan Shu, Liang Yang, Ruhan Yang, Yanrong Yang, Sihang Zin, Linyi Zhang, Wenjiao Zhang, Xiaoman Zhang, Yushuan Zhang, Yusi Zhang, Shui Zhao, Zhe Zhao. And now I have the honor of announcing the names of those receiving a Doctor in Philosophy of Architecture degree. Rebecca Shui. So now I'm pleased to welcome back Dean Brett Steele, who will officially confer the student degrees.
Thank you. First, to our graduate students. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I hereby confer upon each of you the respective master's degree for which you have been presented, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations. And now to our undergraduate students. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I confer upon each of you the bachelor's degree for which you have been presented, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Well, there is clearly nothing conventional about the form of our ceremony this year. The turning of the tassel is a centuries-long academic tradition for students earning the bachelor's degree. For those undergraduate students who have or perhaps made their own mortarboard and tassel this year, now is that moment. Starting with the tassel on the right side of the mortarboard, I ask you now to join the select company of UCLA graduates by moving your tassels to the left. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you all. I hope you'll take a moment to acknowledge your incredible accomplishments. Your intelligence, talent, and commitment will serve you well in your careers and will serve all of us well in our futures. As an alumnus, you are an integral part of the UCLA Architecture and Urban Design community and will be here to support you long after you graduate. Please keep in touch. Now, please take a moment to find links to the after party. Please join us in one of the rooms hosted by studio faculty for you and your families. It's a space for you to reconvene and celebrate the end of the year. The individual links for these sessions can be found on our website, www.aud.ucla.edu. Just click on the UCLA School of Arts and Architecture 2020 Commencement Ceremony news item located on the upper right of the front page. The password to all the Zoom rooms is UCLA AUD. I hope to see you all there.